When I was an atheist, if you had asked me, why do you not believe in God? I would have answered, look at the universe we live in. Mostly empty space, completely dark, unimaginably cold. Most scientists think it improbable that any planet in our solar system sustains life. And Earth herself existed without life for millions of years, and may exist millions more after life has once again left her. And what is life? So arranged that creatures live only by preying on another. In the lower forms, this means only death. In the higher forms, something called consciousness enables the living to experience pain. Creatures are born in pain, live by inflicting pain, and mostly die in pain. In the most complex of all creatures, man, another quality appears, reason. And by reason, we can foresee our own pain. This we call suffering. We can foresee our own death while keenly desiring to go on living. Reason enables humans to invent hundreds of ingenious ways of inflicting a great deal more pain than we could have done as irrational creatures. Oh, this power we have exploited to the full. History's our record of crime, war, disease, terror, with just enough happiness to give us an agonized fear of losing it. And when lost, the poignant misery of remembering how good it felt. Every now and then, our condition is improved by what we call civilization. But all civilizations pass away. That our own civilization will pass away is surely probable. And even if it should not pass away, we're all doomed. The universe is doomed. The astronomers hold out no hope that this planet is permanently inhabitable. The physicists hold out no hope that organic life is a permanent possibility in any part of the material universe. Not only this Earth, but the whole show. All the suns of space are to run down. Nature is a sinking ship. So, if you ask me to believe all this I've just described as the work of an omnipotent, benevolent God, I would have laughed and said the evidence points in the opposite direction. Either there's no God behind the universe, a God indifferent to good and evil, or worse, an evil God. Never dreamed of raising the question if the universe is so bad, or even half so bad. How on earth did humans ever come to attribute it to the work of a wise and good creator? Oh, men are fools, but not so foolish as that. The direct inference from black to white, from evil flower to virtuous root, from senseless work to a workman infinitely wise, staggers belief. No, I did not believe God existed, but I was angry at God for not existing. Why should creatures have the burden of existence forced upon them without their consent? I first met it as a memory that would arise suddenly without warning from a depth of not years, but centuries. The memory was from childhood, when my brother brought the lid of a biscuit tin, garnished with twigs and flowers to make a toy garden. It was the first beauty I had ever known. A sensation of desire. But before I knew what I desired, the desire was gone, withdrawn. The world turned common again. Since then, my constant endeavor was to get it again, in reading every book, going on every walk, listening to every piece of music. Occasionally, the sky would turn. Far more often, I frightened it away by my greed to have it. I call this desire joy, which must be distinguished very sharply from happiness or pleasure, except that anyone who's ever experienced joy will want it again. Apart from that, it might be called a particular kind of grief. But then it's the kind we want. It is the scent of a flower we have not found, the echo of a tune we've not heard, news from a country we have not yet visited. Oh, I doubt that anyone who has ever tasted joy would exchange it for all the pleasures in the world. But joy is never in our power, and pleasure is.
It was here I first read G.K. Chesterton. Never heard of him, had no idea what he stood for, nor could I understand why he made such a conquest of me. His humour was the kind I liked, though not jokes, still less a tone of flippancy, oh, that I cannot endure. Rather, his humour was the bloom of his argument. Strange as it seems, I liked him for his goodness. Oh, not that it had anything to do with being good myself. I did not have the cynic's nose for hypocrisy and smugness so common among my peers.
In Chesterton, as in MacDonald, I did not know what I was letting myself in for. A young man who wishes to remain a sound atheist cannot be too careful of his reading. Felt like I'd found a home with some of the finest scholars I would ever meet. We were young, clear-headed, invincible. Then one day, my very dear friend, Owen Barfield, who satisfied my hunger for debate and rational opposition, announced that he had changed his views. He was no longer a materialist, but had become a theist. I was shocked. I thought Barfield was safe. He came from such a free-thinking family, he'd barely even heard of Christianity. Barfield brought up all the abominations, God, spirit, afterlife. I said, damn it, Owen, it's medieval.
Damn it, Owen, it's medieval.
You may say that, Jack, but the medieval world has a lot to teach us.
You mean that the world is flat?
Oh, come on, Jack, be serious. Open your mind.
I have. And as a wise man once said to me, he that neither knoweth...
This started our great war. A philosophic disputation had lasted for years. I remember Barfield asking,
Jack, do you believe that logic and reason bring forth indisputable truth?
I do.
And are your moral and aesthetic judgments valid and meaningful?
They are.
Well, then materialism must be abandoned. There is a hopeless discord between what our minds claim to be and what they really must be if materialism is true. We claim our minds to be reason, perceiving universal intellectual principles, moral laws, and possessing free will. But if materialism is true, our minds must in reality be merely chance arrangements of atoms in skulls.
I, of course, argued back.
We are to accept reality as it is revealed to us by our senses. And the findings of science have concluded that human reason is merely cognitive maps resulting from natural selection with random mutations over millions of years to confer on humans a reproductive advantage over other species.
I had to say something. I'd been defending materialism for years.
Look, if my clearest reasoning tells me that my mind is nothing more than the accidental result of atoms colliding in skulls, there must be some mistake. How should I trust my mind when it tells me that my most profound thoughts are merely mental patterns resulting from heredity in physics?
Barfield's notion that if materialism is true, my conscious mind is nothing more than atoms colliding in skulls. This was simply unbelievable to me. I could not force my thought into that shape any more than I could scratch my ear with my big toe. It was as final as a physical impossibility. Mind, reason, imagination, consciousness must be more than mere biochemistry. It must be a real participation, something further up, further in. Rock bottom reality had to be intelligent. It's astonishing I'd not seen this before. Willful blindness, I suppose. Though I was careful not to attach rock-bottom reality to God, my skepticism would not allow me to go that far. Rather, I attached it to the universe itself. Still, it had immense potency. Behind the material curtain lay the hidden glory. Barfield and I began to talk religiously about an absolute. Of course, this was a religion that cost nothing, wasn't personal, wouldn't do anything, wouldn't lead to dark places where men scream they're being dragged into hell. It was there. It'd never come here, make a nuisance of itself. Within the faculty, I befriended Hugo Dyson and J.R.R. Tolkien. Both Christians. Oh, these queer people were popping up on every side. There was a wider disturbance. All my books were turning against me. Oh, I must have been as blind as a bat not to have seen this before. George MacDonald had done more to me than any other writer. Of course, he had that bee in his bonnet about Christianity. He was good in spite of it. Spencer, Dante, Milton had it too. I thought Chesterton the most sensible man alive, apart from his Christianity. I was beginning to think that Christianity was quite sensible, apart from its Christianity. On the other hand, those writers who did not suffer religion and with whom my sympathies ought to have been complete, Shaw, Wells, Gibbon, Voltaire, seemed thin, tinny. Oh, they were all entertaining, especially Gibbon, but hardly more. The roughness and density of life did not appear in their books. I concluded that those with untrained philosophic minds could come near the notion of an absolute being by believing in a God, and I distinguished my belief very sharply from the God of popular religion. Oh, there was no possibility of being in a personal relation with him. I could no more meet him than Hamlet could meet Shakespeare. And I did not call him God either. I called him Spirit. One must fight for one's remaining comforts. About this time, one of my fellow tutors, the hardest-boiled atheist I'd ever known, sat in my rooms, other side of the fireplace, and remarked, "The evidence for the historicity of the Gospels, surprisingly good, rum thing. All that mythology about the dying God, rum thing. Looks as if it really happened once." I was shattered. If he, the cynic of cynics, who's never since shown any interest in Christianity, were not, as I still would have put it, safe, where could I turn? Before God closed in on me, I was in fact offered a moment of free choice. I was sitting on a bus going up Headington Hills, thinking I was wearing a suit of armor, trying to keep something out. I could unbuckle the armor or keep it on. Choice felt momentous. I chose to unbuckle. Did not seem possible to do the opposite. The initiative did not lie with me. If Hamlet and Shakespeare could ever meet, it would have to be Shakespeare's doing. He could write himself into the play.
What I called spirit began to show an alarming tendency to become personal. Into my mind crept a horrible novelty. I really believed something. And now that I blundered into that, I knew I could play at philosophy no longer. It was time something should be done. The absolute had arrived, making a nuisance of itself, issuing a command. All my acts and desires were to be brought in line with this absolute spirit that I now believed. For the first time, I examined myself with a serious, practical purpose. What I found appalled me. Depth after depth of pride, self-admiration, a zoo of lusts, a bedlam of ambitions, a nursery of fears, a harem of fondled hatreds. Oh, my name is Legion. Amiable agnostics talk cheerfully of man's search for God. May as well talk of the mouse's search for the cat. All I ever wanted was not to be interfered with, to call my soul my own, keep out, private. This is my business. Let no one talk glibly of the comforts of religion. Is it a small thing to give yourself blindly to a guide who on his own showing may very well be leading you to poverty, ridicule, death? Oh, I knew I would not allow myself to do anything intolerably painful. I would be reasonable. Would it be reasonable? No assurance was offered. It was all or nothing. As the dry bones shook in Ezekiel's dreadful valley, the absolute spirit began to stir and heave and throw off its grave clothes. He said, I am the Lord. I am that I am. I am.
You must picture me alone in my room at Magdalen, night after night, feeling whenever my mind lifted even for a second from my work, the steady, unrelenting approach of him whom I so earnestly desired not to meet. That which I greatly feared had at last come upon me. In the Trinity term, 1929, I gave in and admitted that God is God, knelt and prayed, perhaps that night the most dejected, reluctant convert in all England. I did not then see the divine love that would accept a prodigal on such terms. Kicking, struggling, resentful, darting his eyes in every direction, looking for a chance to escape. The hardness of God is kinder than the softness of man. His compulsion is my liberation. You must understand that the conversion I just described was only to theism, pure and simple, not Christianity. I knew nothing of the incarnation. The God to whom I surrendered was not human. I had no belief in an afterlife. That to me felt like a bribe. My argument against God was that the universe was so cruel and unjust. But where had I got this notion of cruel and unjust? I call a line crooked because I have some idea of a straight line. What was I comparing the universe with when I called it cruel and unjust? If the whole universe has no meaning, I should never have known it has no meaning. All of my reasonable mind was convinced that the universe cannot explain itself, that God is behind the universe, that he has purposes, and is to be obeyed simply because he is God. I suppose my religion was like that of the Jews. As soon as I became a theist, I started attending my parish church on Sunday, college chapel during the week, not because I believed in Christianity, but because I thought one should fly one's flag.
Church was an unattractive affair. I like clergy as I like bears, but I have no more wish to be in church as to be in a zoo. Church to me meant ugly architecture, ugly music, bad poetry. Hymns are extremely disagreeable to me. And the botheration of it all, the crowds, the notices, the perpetual organizing.
Before our final prayer, a quick announcement. If you would like to join Edith on the flower rota, she's desperate for volunteers, do please speak to her at the back by the font afterwards. Let us pray. Lighten our darkness, we beseech thee, O Lord, and by thy great mercy defend us from all perils and dangers of this night, for the love of thy only Son, our Saviour, Jesus Christ. Amen.
My new conviction in a higher being did not exactly make me a paid-up member in the Church of England. But now that I believed in God, I wanted to know more of him, from any source, pagan or Christian. The question was no longer to find the one true religion among many, but where had the thing grown up? Paganism was the childhood of religion. Where had it reached maturity? As for the materialists, their view was out of court. If reason is only the accidental result of atoms colliding in skulls, I could see no reason to believe that one accident should give the correct account for all other accidents.
My allegiance was now with the mass of humanity who had danced, sang, prayed, worshipped. There isn't really an infinite variety of religions, you know. To me, the only ones worth considering are Christianity and Hinduism. Islam is only the greatest of the Christian heresies. Buddhism is only the greatest of the Hindu heresies. All that is best in Judaism and Plato survives in Christianity, and Hinduism bears no historical claim. That had been put into my head by that hard-boiled atheist who said, all that mythology about a dying God looks as if it really happened once.
One day, Tolkien and I took a stroll on Addison's Walk. As we talked, I said,
Tollers, I have, with considerable resistance, come to believe in God, but not Christianity.
Oh, Jack.
I cannot believe something I do not understand. How can the life and death of someone else, whoever he was, 2,000 years ago, help us in the here and now?
When you meet a god sacrificing himself in a pagan story like Dionysus, Balder, Osiris, or even in a fairy tale, you like it very much and are mysteriously moved by it. provided you meet it anywhere except in the Gospels. Well, the story of Christ is a myth, working on us in the same way as other myths, with one tremendous difference in that it really happened.
Suddenly, a rush of wind interrupted us, startling me. So many leaves fell to the ground, I thought it was raining. I held my breath.
Come on, Jack, you're too slow to catch a cold. You know Dyson hates sitting on those steps waiting to be let in.
I don't know if Tollers remembered that moment. I did. His words hit home. No matter how unwilling, I was beginning to move. Tollers and I talked deep into the night. Hugo Dyson joined us.
Beef? Lamb. Beef. Sensational pie.
I make a mess of that. Now this stuff, good hairs on your chest.
Here he is.
Space, would you? There we go.
There we go.
Fantastic.
Look, I may be prepared to accept Jesus as a great moral teacher, but I simply cannot accept his claim to be God.
Oh, come on, Jack. How could a mere man be called a great moral teacher and say the sort of things Jesus said?
Such as?
That he always existed?
That you're coming again to judge the world?
Such men are judged frauds. Lunatics.
In spite of my resistance, they convinced me that nothing else in all literature is just like the Gospels. Myths are like it in one way, with its stories of the miraculous. History is like it in another, with its attention to minute details. But nothing is simply like it, and no person is like the person depicted.
I'm sure there are many people who believe themselves to be God. Our hospitals are full of them.
Oh, come on, Jack, be serious. No great moral teacher has ever made that claim except Jesus, and you know it.
And he went on and on and on.
What do you mean?
Well, claiming to forgive sins, and that he himself is the injured party in every transgression. Look, in anyone else this would be thought silly.
Suppose you told me that 2 of your colleagues had lost you a top professorship by telling lies about your character. And I replied, freely forgive them both. Would you not think this sheer lunacy?
It would be sheer lunacy.
Yet, even those who opposed Jesus admitted that he expressed moral truth of depth and purity, full of wisdom and shrewdness.
Wisdom and shrewdness. You make him sound like Solomon the Great.
On the contrary, history repeatedly calls him humble and meek.
Not that you want to notice that, of course, Jack. Humility and meekness, the last things one would ascribe to someone who makes claims worthy of being a megalomaniac.
The great knock taught me to shame inconsistency. If Jesus' statements are false, Christianity is of no importance. If true, it is of infinite importance. But one thing it cannot be is moderately important.
Sir? What are you saying?
Simply that either this man was and is the Son of God, or else he is a liar, a lunatic, or a fraud. But all this patronizing nonsense about him being some great moral teacher, it's not an option to us. Nor was it intended to be.
I felt a resistance to this almost as strong as my resistance to theism. Every step from the absolute to spirit to God was a step toward the more concrete. And now, to accept the incarnation that God became man was a further step in the same direction. Oh, this too was something I had not wanted. I remember very well when, but hardly how, the final step was taken. has been driven by my brother Warney to Whipsnade Zoo in the sidecar of a motorcycle one sunny morning in the autumn of 1931. When we set out, I did not believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. When we reached the zoo, I did. I had not spent the journey in thought or great emotion. It was more like a man who, after long sleep, has become aware. He is now awake. My conversion shed new light on my search for joy, the overwhelming longings that emerged from fantasties of my brother's toy garden were merely signposts to what I truly desired. They were not the thing itself. I concluded that if I find in myself a desire that no experience in this world could satisfy, the most probable explanation, I was made for another world. At present, we're on the outside of that world, the wrong side of the door. We cannot mingle with the splendors we see. But all the leaves of the New Testament are rustling with the rumor that it will not always be so. One day, God willing, we shall get in. Meanwhile, the cross comes before the crown, and tomorrow is another morning. A cleft has opened in the pitiless walls of this world, and we have been invited to follow our great captain inside. Following him is, of course, the essential point.
That Christmas, I took the short walk to my parish church. That walk marked the end of one journey and the beginning of another.
As I looked around, I thought not only of my own potential glory hereafter, but also that of my neighbor's glory. It is a serious thing to live in a society of possible gods and goddesses, to remember that the dullest, most uninteresting person you meet may one day be a creature that if you saw it now, you would be strongly tempted to fall down and worship, or else a horror, or a corruption such as you now meet, if at all, only in a nightmare. All day long we are helping each other to one or the other of these two destinations. It is in the light of these overwhelming possibilities that I should now conduct all my dealings. There are no ordinary people. I've never met a mere mortal. Nations, cultures, civilizations, these are mortal, and their life is to ours as that of a gnat. It is immortals whom we joke with, work with, marry, snub, exploit. The weight or burden of my neighbor's glory should be laid daily on my back, a load so heavy, only humility can carry it, and the backs of the proud will be broken.
Christ our Passover is sacrificed for us. Therefore, let us keep the feast. The body of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Unlike my first communion 17 years earlier, I now believe.